All right, hey everyone, happy hump day, middle of the week. It's Wednesday, and we got some news obviously from Bitfarms today that they, they responded to the Riot takeover or the buyout. So we'll get into that a little bit. We'll also talk about, we'll look at some charts or the metrics on the miners as far as what is their current market cap to petahash value with HODL, without HODL, then future hash rate value to market cap with HODL and without HODL as well. So we can take a look at see which miners are actually possibly the most undervalued right now based on that alone, right? And if they might be candidates also for a buyout potentially based on that solely alone. So we'll get into that and then we'll take a look at obviously why did I sell Cleanspark and why did I buy Iren? And we'll get into some of the details there behind it as well. Okay, but as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And as always, I'm investing in fund companies and I'm not paid by any public Bitcoin mining company. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. So let's get into first the Bitcoin charts a little bit here, and then we'll get into everything else here. So if we look at Bitcoin here, Bitcoin is obviously at 67,000 right now. It's trading sideways right now. So we're in an accumulation phase as it is, which is fine. Usually we do that before a nice little rally up. So if we continue doing this for the next couple of days, I'm not too worried about it, right? Miners, on the other hand, had a pretty bad day today, except for two, really. CORZ was up 5.44%. It's now up above $5.23. Then we had Wolf up today 8.21% to $2.24. Really no news from Wolf there. My only thought process is maybe are they a candidate for somebody to buy out? And is that what people are thinking also? So we're seeing obviously Bitfarms being attacked with a buyout. One of these guys down here could also be in that same spot here. Okay, so that's basically the gist of what happened today with Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners. Not much activity, some up, some are down. If we look at the network hash rate here on the 7-day, we can see the network hash rate has peaked like we spoke about just a couple of days ago at 657 exahash. It's down a little bit now on the 7-day average to 638. If we look at the 30-day average, it's starting to kind of come back up a little bit as well. 606 was the peak here recently. We're back down to 603 as well. So that's kind of network hash rate. We can expect that to continue to go up. Bitcoin transaction fees are down quite a bit here. They're down to about 18 BTC, whereas before we were in the 20s and even higher than that, like 25, 30, something like that. So we're down a little bit on the Bitcoin transaction fees as well. Hash price has come up here. So I'm guessing that there are probably, at least recently, some more transaction fees going on here that's not being reported on the other one right now. That's causing that spike there. And we obviously talked about this already. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of everything that we do have here, which obviously is going to be the first one here is on Bitfarms. So Bitfarms responds to unsolicited proposal from Riot Platforms. And, they put it out this morning around, I think, like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock this morning, which was nice of them to finally do that. Would have been nice for them to do that last night, or at least yesterday sometime, but they did it nonetheless, which is good. But here's what we have here. So company committed to maximizing value for all shareholders, strategic alternative process underway, and reaffirms confidence in business and guidance of 21 exahash and 21 watts per terahash in 2024. So that's good news there. Let's see here. This news release, you guys can read that. The big thing takeaway here is obviously that Riot on April 22nd put in or sent a proposal to acquire 100% of the common shares of Bitfarms at a price of $2.30. And consisting of cash and Riot common stock, a special committee of the board comprised solely of independent directors. The special committee carefully considered the proposal. And determined it significantly undervalues the company and its growing prospects. Right? I agree with that completely. $2.03. It was, like I said, a slap in the face a little bit to shareholders and to the company based on their projected growth potential going forward, especially with Bitcoin price going up in value. So I agree there. They should have just kind of swiped it off and gone with their merry business. But in order to advance discussions with Riot in a meaningful manner, the special committee requested customary confidentiality and non-solicitation protections to which Riot did not respond to, right? So Riot's saying that they didn't hear anything back to them. They're saying that they sent out something for them. They didn't respond back. So it's kind of going back and forth a little bit between Bitfarms and Riot here. Who's in the right, who's in the wrong? I have no idea. Let me see here. Also, this is an interesting part of it here. Having received additional unsolicited expressions of interest, with each additional party executing a customary non-disclosure agreement, the special committee is conducting a thorough strategic alternatives review to ensure it achieves maximum shareholder value. Right? So that's important there. So it seems like we have maybe potential other bidder or multiple other bidders, or at least people showing interest in their company as well as a potential buyout or merger or something like that, whatever that might be. So they do have obviously optionality here, which is good. They don't have only the one horse in the race, which would be Riot. Now we have multiple horses in the race bidding for it, which obviously would be good for shareholders, depending where we get to. Overall, I think this is my belief here. With the growth they have planned out for the remainder of this year to get to 21 exahash, which would be obviously a 3x growth from where they are right now at 7 exahash, they are way, way undervalued currently, and it would be in the best interest of the board to basically decline any offers of buyouts or anything like that if they can obviously do all the things that they plan to do this year by themselves, right? They're not strapped for cash. They have a healthy balance sheet. They're doing all the right things, except for obviously the CEO situation there. But obviously, other companies are seeing interest in them, right? So that kind of the flood around Paraguay goes away because no company would really want to get into buying somebody out if there's issues in Paraguay where there could be a Bitcoin mining ban or something like that, right? So then I think that flood is done and over with. You can forget about that. And then obviously the flood of Canadian taxes, that's gone away too. So the real issue that we have right now is basically the CEO at the company there. We don't have one right now. They're still looking for it. Okay, so that puts them in a pretty good spot here. If they can find a CEO and continue to grow their plan forward this year, I think, like I said, I think they should decline any kind of offer that's there unless it's like much, much higher, like $6, $7 or more per share. But right at that point, who's really going to buy them at that point? So I think the shareholder value is there, and it is in the planning stages, in the working stages, in the progress stages, I guess you could say, to build out to 21 exahash this year. Okay, and let's get my take on it right there. All right, now, these alternatives could include, among other things, continuing to execute on the company's business plan, right? So they basically continue to operate as normal, a strategic business combination or other strategic transactions, or a sale of the company, obviously depending on the price that is provided to the board and to the company here. So, like I said, I don't agree with anything other than maybe $6, $7 per share. I think that at that point, they'll kind of value them more adequately to where they probably should be valued right now. And especially if you look at to their future hash rate growth, which we'll take a look at here in the next charts, for all the companies here, you'll see how undervalued they are right now based on that. And eventually they will get valued for it if they can obviously execute on their plan for growth, okay? And then here we have the announcement of CEO, or not an announcement, that as previously announced, the company's CEO search remains on track, and the company continues to execute the expansion and transformative fleet upgrade. Bitfarms has realized notable efficiency gains and is progressing toward 2024 guidance of 21 exahash and 21 watts per terahash, representing a 223% hash rate increase and 40% efficiency improvement, right? And this is huge. 3x growth within this company is a huge improvement, obviously. Let's see here. This would be the strongest growth and efficiency gains in both the company's history and among publicly traded Bitcoin mining peers this year, right? Which I believe is also the case. The company strongly believes that continued execution towards this growth plan maximizes shareholder value, and I believe the same thing as well. Right, so the board and I are here on agreement on this. I think just their own individual growth internally within themselves without being bought out by anybody else is potentially the most accretive for investors going forward. But, we'll see what actually comes of this. Now, they have hired, obviously, advisors for this. So they have Mawson Company, LLC, which is basically, I looked into them, they are a mergers and acquisition company, things like that, private bank, things like that. So they are looking like they have a pretty good advisor there as well. And then as far as the lawyers here, I'm not really sure who they got. Didn't really look into them, but I got Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meager, and Flum MFP, Peterson, McViker, LLP, and McAllen, LLP, are acting as legal advisors in this right now. So looks like they got all the things in place for it. Obviously, this is it gives us a little bit of excitement of what's going on in the Bitcoin mining space. Otherwise, it would have been kind of boring with Bitcoin just trading sideways for the next couple of weeks or something like that. So this is exciting. Obviously, it's obviously garnered a lot of interest from the community, from everybody else, wondering what the heck is going on here, what's happening with all of this stuff here. And we'll have to see how this all plays out, right? Right now has 10% of the company. The company, Bitfarms, does have options. They could do a poison pill potentially. They could do other things as well to limit the buying power of Riot as well going forward. And we'll see how this is going to play out. This is going to be kind of like one of those soap operas. We're going to have back and forth things going from each company until one company either, lays down and the other company wins, or the company that's trying to buy them lays down and goes, okay, maybe this isn't a great idea. We'll go a different route potentially, something like that, right? But like I said, for Riot, it's really a win-win. If they continue to buy the shares and just hold on to the shares themselves, if Bitfarms goes up 5-10x, they're making $350, $700 million on that investment alone. So it's not like they're going to be losing money on it unless they actually sell the shares because they get rejected with the sale or the buyout. Okay, so that's it for that one. Let's get into the numbers here as far as the value that each company has on their hash rate right now based on their market cap. And so we have the value here, what they're being valued right now based on market cap to hash rate, and the market cap minus HODL and their current hash rate. Then we have future hash rate down below as well. The numbers here that we have, this was their position last time we did this, which was probably a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that we looked at this chart. So now we can see here that Hive and Core with just their market cap and their hash rate. This includes obviously their HODL in there as well, if they have HODL. But you can see Hive right now is basically the most undervalued company, right? They're supposed to get to about 6 exahash of hash rate here this year. That obviously puts them in not a bad spot for a possible acquisition play there. We could also take a look at possibly their market cap, which is I think like around 300-some million. So it's not a big, it's not a big market cap. So you wouldn't have to spend a lot of money to get that potential hash rate there, and then obviously put in your miners, things like that. Things could be done there to buy those facilities, and they have facilities in Canada, United States, I believe, and also in Iceland and Greenland, I think. So they do have that capability there. Next is Core here, right? Core was number 1 last time. Now it's Hive. Hive beat them out as far as the least or the most undervalued. Core this time around is in number 2 spot. They could be also like a buyout target for CoreWeave. They could be a buyout target for like any of the big players, Amazon AWS, Google, Azure. Google Azure, that's Microsoft Azure, sorry. Google Cloud as well. It's one of those big guys that are in that data center field where they could use the megawatts that they have there for their purposes, depending if that's the case, right? Because they're kind of definitely undervalued here on that. Next, you got TeraWulf. TeraWulf is in 3rd spot here. Last time it was number 4 spot. Now you got BitDeer, number 4 spot. Last time they were number 7. And then BitDigital here is number 5 spot. And last time they were number 3, right? Iris is number 5 spot, number 6, or number 7. Yeah, 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, yeah. Bitfarms was number 6 spot. This time around, they're in number 7 spot here. So they're a little bit better value than Iris is right now. Iris looks a little bit more undervalued based on their hash rate right now compared to Bitfarms. Iris got to 10 exahash. Bitfarms is at 7 exahash, so that's maybe the reason why there. And then if we look at the top 3 here that are kind of the most valued on their exahash right now, you got Cleanspark at 224,000 per terahash or hash rate. So it can be, I think it might be a petahash. Riot at 219,000, right? Number 2. Marathon, number 3 spot with 200,000 at that point. Okay, now if we take out the HODL on things, Hive's still number 1 here. You can see that Core is still number 2. Hut 8 now comes into the number 3 spot. So would anybody want to buy out Hut 8 potentially? If you take out their HODL position on there, they're definitely way under, but they also don't have a lot of growth going forward. They do have obviously infrastructure in play that they could get 2 megawatts as well available to them. So that might not be a bad play. Then you got BitDigital here, TeraWulf, BitDeer, Iris is now probably still in the 7th spot here, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so they're in the same spot here. Bitfarms is in number 8 spot here. And again, you got Cleanspark, Riot, Marathon as the top 3 being most valued here without even the HODL position in place. Okay. Now, when we add in future hash rate growth to where they're going to be going, based on what they've reported as purchasing miners going forward, right? You can see Iris right now is the most undervalued here at 36,039 per petahash. And then you got Hive, number 2 spot, Bitfarms number 3 spot. So I can see why Riot wanted to go after Bitfarms, right? There's definitely way undervalued from the other guys here, about almost 1/3 of where the other guys are, right? Same thing with Iris. So, but I think Iris, with their current market cap above 1 billion, they're a little bit more protected potentially. But we'll see. I mean, you never know with any of these guys that are undervalued based on their future hash rate. They could be a possible target for a buyout, or at least a try of a buyout. Then you got Core, number 4 spot, right, is now number 5 spot, right? So complete difference here from where they were prior. And then you got Cypher, Cleanspark as well. TeraWulf, BitDeer, BitDigital, Hut 8 is now being way overvalued for their future hash rate. And then Marathon is number 1 here, just slightly above Hut 8. Right? But now let's take out the HODL position again. And you still have Hive here, number 1 spot. Hut now becomes number 2 spot here, right? Way undervalued. Based on everybody else, Iris, number 3 spot. Bitfarms, number 4 spot right now. And you got Core, Riot, Cypher, Cleanspark is somewhere in the middle here. TeraWolf, BitDigital, Marathon, and BitDeer is actually the most overvalued based on future hash rate growth and taking out HODL position out of those things. So some of these guys that are in way undervalued based on their hash rate are, I think, potential buyout candidates by some of the bigger miners here and potentially some of the outside companies as well that need megawatts to grow their data centers and things like that with good rates on electricity and things like that. But that's just kind of the way it worked out here. So, and then this kind of leads us perfectly into why I actually sold some Cleanspark shares and I bought more Iren shares. And this is why, right? Way undervalued here for the future hash rate growth looking at it compared to Cleanspark right now. I've also done really well with Cleanspark. I've been buying it into, well, since basically January of 2022. So I was up 400% on it. So I basically just took out the portion that I put into it as the initial investment, right? So whatever that was, I took that out and then I basically moved that over into Iren because I wanted to have a bigger Iren position than I had in the past. I was under 1,000 shares. I started buying Iren back in November, December of last year, and I was slowly buying into it. And I wanted to buy more into it, but then it's kind of run up on me. So before it runs up even further on me, I decided, okay, let's rearrange things a little bit. I looked at the data on it as far as where do I think Cleanspark could go, where do I think Iren could go, and did it make sense for me to kind of rotate a little bit of the shares out of Cleanspark and into Iren, and it does make sense. If my calculations are right and I'm close to that, if I'm close to that, it could be between $100,000 and $300,000 difference to the upside, actually, if I do this. So that's the reason why I did it. It's just kind of jockeying around a little bit of the positions to maybe maximize some of the profits going forward. Seeing that Iren, I think, is still more undervalued than where Cleanspark is, so it potentially has more upside potential that way as well, right? But they don't have a HODL position. I don't know if that's going to have a huge impact on them or not. I'm guessing it's not because they've done pretty well here recently. I think it's just more so on the growth side of things, right? If you can have good growth, that's going to obviously push the stocks forward, especially if Bitcoin goes up in value, okay? So that's where I'm at today. So I did that right around, I think that was probably around 9, 10 o'clock or something like that. I was trying to sell Cleanspark at first. Obviously, the price kept dropping down lower, so I kind of went down a little bit lower than I wanted to. Not that much lower. But sold that finally, and then I was able to buy into Iren. And I did let everybody on Patreon, Discord server know when that did happen, as I always do. Whenever I do a trade, I let you guys know. Okay, so that's it. So typically I've been just buying shares. So this is like the first time I've sold shares except for Hive. So that's been reported in there. And we'll obviously do that going forward as well as I start dollar cost averaging out of these as Bitcoin starts to rally a little bit. Okay, but that is it. So as always, my little sales pitch here. If you guys want access to my spreadsheets, those are on Patreon. Link is down in the description for that. If you want to join, it's $8 a month. And you get access to all these whenever I update them. These will be updated tonight as well. And we also have a private Discord server there as well. You guys are able to join that. So, and if you pay for the annual subscription, you get 10% off. So there's some savings there for you as well. All right, that is it. So that's my sales pitch. Let's get into the Q&A side of things here. So what you guys have to say, what you guys have questions on, and we'll call it a day. Today's going to be kind of nice one. Get done before 11 o'clock. That's going to be a good one. But let's get into the Q&A side of things. I was able to do this earlier today because kids are at grandpa's and grandma's house and wife's at the dentist. So I had a little time. I figured might as well use it. All right, so Q&A side of things, it takes about 15 minutes. So there's a little bit of delay. So give me a little time, but I will get to all your guys' questions as well. Excuse me, I gotta take a sip. Okay, sorry about that. Having to clear my throat. Let's see. Sebastian, congrats on the Iren purchase. Thank you. Yeah, I've been buying it slowly since, like I said, November, December timeframe, and I just needed to basically push on the trigger or push the pedal down a little bit faster on it before it runs up too much on me. Let's see here. Did Riot's buyout bid include possession of Bitfarms BTC HODL position? Yeah, I think if they're buying out the company, they're buying out everything at that point. And their HODL position is, what is it, about 70 million or something like that in there? Let me take a look at Bitfarms here really quick on my sheets. I'll have a better number there. Bitfarms with their HODL, they had 830 BTC as of April. So that's valued at about 54 million roughly. So that's all going to be taken out as well. Let's see. Iren is a beast. I'll be adding on the next couple of days. Pullback, BTC looking to dump. Yeah, it might dump. It might go a little sideways. Not sure which way it's going to go, but definitely I agree with Iren. Iren is going to be a good one here going forward. I'm heavy on Iren from Ginger. It's awesome. Let's see. I only have Iren and Cleanspark. Yeah, I have a look. Well, I got Bitfarms. We'll see what happens with Bitfarms here. If I pick these right so far, Cleanspark has done really well. Iren has done really well as well, but I'm only up like 10% on it right now because my dollar cost average went way up from today. Otherwise, I was up like 80% on Iren as well. And we'll see what happens with Bitfarms. Bitfarms, I'm still up about 60%, I think, on it, something like that. So I'm still doing okay there. Let's see here. What would prompt you to sell your Bitfarms with the current circumstances? If they get bought out. I don't know what we'll get. If we'll get some shares of Riot at that point or any other company or something like that. We'll have to see how that plays out. But that's kind of the only thing that would really make me sell out of the company. But if we're going to be getting shares of it, I'd maybe just hold on to and get the shares, and then obviously shares in cash, and then move things over a little bit more. Or if things are looking a little bit heated, we'd have to reevaluate, obviously, what's going on if Riot buys them out. What is the potential there for them? I need to see how Riot also did for May as far as the production update is concerned. How much did they actually install? Are they having issues? And that's why they're going after Bitfarms to mask some of the issues there's potentially as well. Need to see that. So there's a lot of things that I would to consider there. Let's see here. Why wouldn't you sell Bitfarms to mitigate risks? Because I still believe, and like the management there, the board has said that they still believe that the best option for investors is for their own self-growth going forward, right? Going from 7 exahash to 21 exahash, 3x growth. That I think is going to be more accretive to that. So I'm hoping that the buyout doesn't happen. All right. If it happens, I'll sell at that point, and I'll still be possibly in some profit there, and just move things over to another one. Hi Seb, still you holding Bitfarms and Cleanspark? Yeah, so I still have Bitfarms, Cleanspark, and Iren now. So I trimmed on Cleanspark about 20% or so, based on that right now. So it's down 20% from where it was, but I still have plenty. What if Bitfarms takes the poison pill? Yeah, I may have to reevaluate at that point as well, depending on how much they're going to be diluting or increasing shares and things like that. We'll have to see on that one, what that's going to obviously entail. Please, Seb, give us your future outlook on Hut 8. Love the videos, brother. Thank you so much. Hut 8 is tough. They have the managed services side of business. They have the hosting business. They also have the data center business as well. And then they have the Bitcoin self-mining business, which they're pretty mum about that right now as far as what they're going to be growing going forward. So I usually base the companies on their self-mining because that usually gives us the most revenue, especially in a bull run, right? So it's easier to track them that way. The managed services, I mean, there's contracts in place. They get some contracts that have revenue splits and other things like that, and rewards, things like that. It's a little harder to track on those things. But I would expect them to kind of underperform some of the bigger miners here that we do have, only because we don't have any certainty on their future hash rate growth for their self-mining. And that's kind of the way I see them right now. I bought more Bitfarms today. Let's see who else is bidding for them over the coming weeks. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely undervalued from where they should be based on everybody else. I mean, you guys saw it in the charts just a minute ago. They're way down, especially for their future hash rate growth. Compared to other miners right now. So I think they are way undervalued. Let's see. Based on past cycles, how long after having do miners and BTC usually start heading north? Being called out here is very concerning. Being stalled out here is very concerning. No, usually we see this last cycles. This cycle is different, obviously, but last cycles we saw, what was it? The miners kind of trade sideways down a little bit, maybe even for like 1 to 2 months. Potentially going in 3 months, right? Same thing with Bitcoin at that point. Bitcoin had usually trade sideways a little bit, like 6 to 8, maybe 12 weeks, and then it starts ripping up higher, and the miners follow suit. So we're still obviously only what are we into now? 6 weeks into it, rough 5 or 6 weeks after the halving event. So we still have maybe another couple weeks to go before things really start to pick up in the summer. What's your average on Iren? My average on Iren is now $7.08, something like that. It was $4 something, but I bought a lot today, and that obviously shot up my average on it. Let's see here. Iren and Cleanspark, the only ones to own. Yeah, they're definitely some of the best ones here. I still like Bitfarms. I think Bitfarms has great potential as well, but there's obviously been FUD around it, and obviously the buyout, it doesn't help things. Let's see here. Cleanspark to 100, same here. I'm Team Iren and Cleanspark. Yeah, I mean, if Cleanspark can get to 100, that's going to be pretty good day for me. If I can, I know I'm not going to be able to time it perfectly. So if I can get close to that, I'll be very, very happy. Let's see. Wrong time to sell Cleanspark for Iren. You could have CLSK at 24 and bought Iren at 4. Just yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to time it perfectly, right? Looking back, we can all go, oh, yeah, I could have bought that at this price and sold that at that price. You know, hindsight is 20/20 on those things. So you're never going to be able to do that properly because you just never know where Bitcoin's going to go, where everything else is going to go, what's going to happen with the companies, right? We didn't have Iren coming out saying that they're going to be going to 30 and then 40 exahash, right? So all those things are always in the past. You can always, what is it called? Side seat drive, I guess, yourself to death potentially if you look backwards. I try not to do that. I try to look forwards. Okay, here's where we are right now. Here's the situation. What can I do to better position myself into the future? And that's kind of the way I work things out. Has Bitfarms announced a new CEO or not? Not yet. They have not. They're saying they can close. How much closer can they get? I don't know. Thank you for everything you do, Sebastian. I love your videos. How would a hostile takeover of CORZ play out if it performed by a larger HPC company? Kind of the same way that we're kind of seeing play out right now with Bitfarms potentially, right? The way Elon Musk played out with Twitter, X, right? The way he was going after he started buying shares into it, starting putting people on the board that he wanted, and then that's kind of the way you do it, right? At that time, Twitter was talking about doing the poison pill process to prevent him from possibly buying it out and things like that. So, you know, there's things that can be done to mitigate the possibility of a buyout, but if somebody really wants to buy you out, they possibly can, unless the shareholders don't vote for it, right? So in the end, the shareholders will have to vote on it. Let's see. Have you read the article where Morgan Stanley priced power of AI at $5 to $10 per watt? Yes, I have read that, and it's obviously very bullish for the people that have just megawatts in place, right? It doesn't have to be that they have AI, but they can always transition to AI, making it far more profitable. But there's also things to take into consideration with AI is the ASICs are, not the ASICs, the GPUs are very, very expensive, right? You're looking at $30,000, $40,000 per GPU. And then depending on the customers that you're looking for, building out those infrastructures for those sometimes require like a tier 3, tier 4 data center. At that point, you're looking anywhere between like $5 and $12 million per megawatt to build out, compared to where you are right now getting, the miners are paying, Iren's paying like $750,000 per megawatt. You got Marathon buying infrastructure at around 400 some thousand per megawatt. And then you got Cleanspark like in the 300 some odd range. And then you got Hut 8 building out things at around 200,000. So there's huge price gap between, or the cost gap between building for Bitcoin and then building for AI and, you know, these data centers that you want redundancies in and things like that. Your opinion on BitDigital. My opinion on BitDigital is I wish they would, what's the word I'm looking for? I wish they would concentrate more on the Bitcoin side of things, the self-mining. I think the AI side is good as well. It's obviously profitable for them, which is good. But we're seeing that the miners that are growing more hash rate this year and into next year are getting valued better because of it, right? That's based on just the thought process that Bitcoin's going to go up in value. So that's kind of where investors are looking at, and that's why they are also kind of undervalued as far as their operation side of things are concerned right now. Would you sell if your average was $1.80 and Bitfarms price starts dumping to those levels? That is up to you to decide. I can tell you that I would not be, right? We've been below $1.80 before and things like that. I've held on to it, or I've actually bought more into it. And that's only because of the future growth there, right? And I think that will get rewarded in time. But right now we got to get past the CEO thing right now that's left and the buyout. If we can get past those things, I think the stock will do much better. But it's in a tough spot right now. Will Riot reach $40 this cycle? Yeah, I think they should reach it at 4x from where they are right now. Definitely. That's as long as Bitcoin goes up to 150,000, something like that. Then they probably should do that. And it also depends on if they can obviously build out, increase their hash rate like they said they're going to do. If they can do all those things and have much better uptime, then yeah, I think 40 is probably like a low bar for them to reach. Do you worry about Riot limiting the upside of Bitfarms? I could see Riot buying more shares until they get the majority of the shares for well under 350. Well, I mean, at that point, you got to buy basically to get 51% of the shares. What do they have now? Like 390 million shares outstanding. Let's just say 400 million. So they have to buy 200 million shares. That's a lot of shares to buy. They would possibly be driving the stock up at that point more than $3.50, I would think, if you're buying that many shares of the company. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Didn't they announce Jeff Lucas, new CEO on X, temporary interim CEO, I believe. So that's the case for that one. How likely is the poison pill over at Bitfarms? We'll have to see it, depending how much more Riot buys shares and things like that, right? I think that's going to be dependent on, and the board has to have something in its bylaws, or the company has to have something in its bylaws that they can actually use like a poison pill, potentially for a hostile takeover. I don't know if that's in there even now, or they may have to amend it, potentially, not sure. Seb, at what price would Iren have to be for you to make $1 million? Hopefully soon. Gosh, what would that be? I got basically roughly a little bit more than 5,000 shares of it. So you're looking at, it would probably have to be like $200 at that point, right? 5,000 shares times $200, that would make it $1 million, right? Something like that. I'm guessing that could possibly get to like $85 this time around. I'm guessing. Ed, excuse me. Thank you so much for the super chat. Iren has 5 million offering coming up. Why so optimistic? Growth. It's always for growth, right? Cleanspark is using ATM. Bitfarms is using ATM. Marathon is using ATM. Riot is using ATM. As long as it's growth and hash rate and things like that, that's accretive to investors, the stock is going to pump going forward, right? They came out with the news that they're going to be using, they got an ATM at the same time that they came out with going to 30 exahash this year, right? 20 exahash by the end of Q3, 30 by the end of Q4. And what did the stock do? It ran up, right? So growth is the main thing that's obviously driving these stocks here forward. Seb, do you think Iren will outperform Cleanspark by a factor of 1.5 to 2? From where it's at right now, my guess, my conservative estimates for Cleanspark is around $70, right? Depending on where Bitcoin goes. It could go up much higher, but that's my kind of conservative estimate right now. Seeing how Iren is undervalued based on the market cap to hash rate and things like that, I think Iren could go basically, what are we looking at here right now? Approximately like 5 to 10x. So where Cleanspark could go possibly like 5x, I'm thinking Iren might go like a 5 to 10x. So I guess that would be like a 1.5 to 2x potentially from where it is right now. All right. Let's see. 800 megawatt Helios facility. Galaxy bought that for 65 million. Yeah, that was obviously with Argo being in pretty big trouble there, obviously with the loans, debt, everything else. So they bought that, but it wasn't, I don't think, all built out yet. They have the 800 megawatt facility, but it was only built out to, what was it, 50, 100 megawatts or something like that, part of it. It wasn't fully built out. Sebastian, do you worry about Iren's HPC business being a distraction to BTC mining? H100 chips are so expensive it could divert CapEx away from BTC operations. No, because they've clearly came out here and saying that they're obviously more focused on hash rate growth in BTC than in the AI side of things. In the AI side of things, I think they're kind of just wetting their toes a little bit in the water to see how things go. And they've said, obviously, they know about the CapEx expenses so much more on it. And then the only other thing with them is that the data centers, not data centers, but the mining farms that they're building out are dual purpose. So they can be used for HPC as well, but you don't have the redundancies there. All right, so they're looking for a specific customer that doesn't care about inference. They care about maybe just running their data models and things like that and being out. So a couple months contracts and then they're out, right? And that's kind of what they're looking for, where at that point you have a little bit better a return on investment, which could be like around 14 to 16 months on at least the H100s, as compared to if you have a longer term contract, you're looking at like 24 months at that point. So it's still not a big focus for them. It's more of a let's see what happens if we, poke these bears a little bit here and these things right there. Let's say Bitfarms gets to 1.4, then would you sell? That's basically at my average on it right now is about 1.4 something. It was 1.6. I can't remember now. I'll have to look at it. But at that point, I don't know. I don't know if I would sell at that point even. Why would it? I don't know. The only way I think would go down to that price would be if Bitcoin actually goes down in value tremendously. And if that's the case, everything else is going down. So I don't know if that, would I sell everything else that I own? Probably not. I just hold on to it. I held on to it before until things rebound. Submission, do you worry about Iren achieving their hash growth? They are planning to grow exactly 4x by the first half of 2025. They have the land to build out. They have the infrastructure they're building out as well. So I think they've got all the long lead time items already on order, which should be coming in stages for when they need them. So based on that, seeing that they already got to 10 exahash this year, I think getting to 30 exahash would be obviously 3x from where they are right now. I think that is doable, right? And then they're obviously planning to get to 40 exahash by the end of, or no, sometime in 2025, which I think is also doable, right? If they don't get it there exactly by the end of December, the 30 exahash, and they're only off by, let's just say a couple weeks, a month or so, not a big deal, right? There's a lot of things that have to go right for all those things to work out properly. But we could also have a situation where they actually get there faster and maybe deliver a little bit more on top of it before the end of the year. We've seen that with Cleanspark as well in the past. They've done that. They've said they're getting to 6 exahash. They got to 6.8 or something like that at one point. So it is possible for these guys to beat the targets that they set out themselves. How many shares of Iren did you buy and at what price? I bought 4,500 shares at $7. Was it $7.26? Somewhere around there. Right around that price range, right around there. $7.26 or $7.46. I can't remember. One of those two. Thank you so much for the effort. As always, you're very welcome. For clarification, you sold some Cleanspark to buy additional Iren. Yes. Why would you not buy additional Bitfarms? Okay, so yes, that is correct. I sold 20% of my Cleanspark position, which was basically the dollar cost that I put into it originally from my own dollars, right? So I kind of took that back, and basically whatever I have now is basically 100% free ride in there. So then I took that position over into Iren. Now, why did I buy into Bitfarms? I have a huge stack in Bitfarms already as it is. I'm comfortable with where that is at right now as well. And eventually, I think that's going to work out well if they continue to operate on their own. If they get bought out, there might be a different story there. But that's kind of the way I'm looking at things right now. I think Iren possibly has a little bit more upside. I wanted to buy them for a longer period of time. And sorry for the kids running upstairs. You can probably hear them. They're chasing the dog around. But that's just kind of the way I looked at it. I'm happy with what I have right now in Cleanspark, with Iren, and with Bitfarms. And if we get any dips on any of these guys, especially like Iren or Bitfarms, maybe I will pick up some more at that point. Woodstock, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it. That's the question. Do you think Core can reach 10 plus during this bull run? Thanks. $10, I'm guessing you're thinking about? I think so. It all depends on how well they build out and everything else. And you guys can hear my kids. Hey, guys. Out. All right. Kids are wanting to play video games. I'll be done shortly. Let me see here. Sorry about that. Yeah, so can Cleanspark or Core reach $10? I think it's possible, depending on how Bitcoin goes. And then if they also announce something that they can obviously build out or at least replace some of the older machines that they have for the newer ones, increase their hash rate that way, I think that would be great to see also. I mean, if it gets to $10, then you're also getting rid of some of the debt, and they also get like, what, 300 million also from that? So that would be kind of cool there. Let's see, they would have to get a vote to use the poison pill from shoulders, right? Yeah, I don't know. Don't know what their bylaws are in the incorporation, things like that. What do they have in there? That might be one of those things that they might have to do. Would there not be a lawsuit following something like that? Well, geez, you might get a lawsuit one way or another. You never know with investors, right? I mean, they invest in these companies, they know the risk, but then when something doesn't go their way, it's like, get my lawyer, I need help, I need to get my money back. You know what you're investing in. So I never like it when investors sue companies because for one reason or another. If there's obviously fraud or something like that, okay, yes. But if they're not doing anything fraudulent and they're just acting in the best interest of the shareholders, why you got to go sue them? Let's see. What's your target range for Cypher this cycle? Let me see. Where's Cypher right now on my sheet? Cypher is at, where are they at? $3.80. I have them at, for my numbers at least, I have them between $5 and like $8 right now, right? This is where I think they should be possibly valued, but they're not being valued on that because their hash rate growth is not really indicative until 2025 sometimes. So that's the reason for it there. I think why the stock is kind of down a little bit. Do you think Wolf will survive now that they have paid down debt? Can they compete in the future? Have 20,500 shares with an average price? Okay, so you got a pretty good price there on them. Congrats to you. I think they can compete if they can pay down the debt and then use that cash flow that they have to grow and everything else. Maybe pull on the trigger on the dilution a little bit as well. Then that would obviously be a good thing for them going forward. See. From an operational perspective, can Iren just unplug ASIC miners and put in H100s and vice versa? Trying to see how easily Iren can swap back and forth should one business model doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, their their buildings are built for dual purpose. So you can have H100s in there, or you can have the ASICs in there as well, right? And typically with the H100s, you don't need as much megawatts, right, to have equivalent revenue side of things from BTC potentially. So you don't need that much in there. You can mine Bitcoin, right, when it makes sense, shut that off and just keep going with the HPC side of business things as well, because you're not using as many megawatts at that point. So there's obviously a lot of things that you can do that way. Seb, I just found out about your channel and I love it. I was listening to your previous video 1.4 hours while I was driving in 401 Ontario. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. 1.4 hours. Which video was that? I'm trying to think what video that was for 1.4 hours. Was it the one the night before? Yeah, I mean, some of these go pretty long. We're almost at 45 minutes right now. Any thoughts on Wolf price end of year? Wolf, let me take a look at my sheet here really quick as well. TeraWolf, they're at, what are they at right now? $2.24. I have them between $3.58 and $5.38, where I think they probably would be fairly valued at that point. So they are undervalued right now. But the same thing with Wolf as it is with Cypher. A lot of their growth isn't until possibly into 2025. They have a little bit of growth left. Let's see, what are they at right now? 8. They're supposed to get to 10 exahash. So they have about 2 exahash they're supposed to get installed still this year. So not a lot of growth there. But if they can up that somehow, increase that even this year, that would obviously be much better going forward. Seb has diamond hands. Yeah, you can see I got diamond hands. I've been holding and buying into these things since January of 2022. So I've been in this for going on now 2.5 years. Are you expecting 10 exahash Bitfarms this May report? You know, I would think that if they got there, they would have reported already. Hey, we got to 10 exahash, because I think that's going from 7 to 10. That's huge, right? I don't know. We'll find out next week when they report. I hope they do, right? I think as everybody else does, but we just don't know with everything else that's going on. You know, Ben is great there. Ben's like master class in mining here. So if Ben's operating there, if he's trying to get to it, I'm pretty sure they're going to get close to it, or there's going to be damn good reasons why they didn't get to it. Let's see. I checked the fair value of Iren on Simple Wall, and it says 122. Is that even possible? If they get to 40 exahash, potentially, right? And depending where Bitcoin goes. But right now, Iren's fair value, based on what I'm seeing here, is I got to keep going back and forth between my sheets here. Let me see here. Iren is now, let me see here. I have them between $12.96 to $19.44, where I think they should be fairly valued. That's why I say they are undervalued right now as it is. There are a lot of miners. What do you think about BitDeer is a good time to enter? BitDeer, again, same thing. Wolf, Cypher. A lot of their growth isn't until 2025. They're supposed to get their newer miners. What do they call those? Gosh, I'm trying to blank. It's seal miners. The seal miners that they're producing, they're manufacturing, those are coming in Q3, Q4. So they're going to be increasing their hash rate a little bit there. But a majority of it isn't going to be ready, or majority of their sites are not going to be ready until 2025 sometime. And that's when a lot of their growth is going to be happening potentially. So they might be at the end of the rally there at that point. So again, it's hard to tell where they're going to be because not a lot of growth this year. Yeah, kids are great, right? I need like a little red light upstairs in the main floor when I'm doing recording, so they know not to come downstairs when I do that. Let's see. Sebastian, do you think Riot just wants the miners Bitfarms has on order? No, because they have miners on order from, who's that from? Bitminer, was it What's Miner? Gosh, or Canon, I can't remember which one it is. But they have orders to get to 40 exahash for that. And they have options to get another 60 exahash to get to 100 exahash with those. So they have orders in place. It's not like they need miners. And plus, a lot of the miners that they are getting are the ones for immersion cooling, whereas Bitfarms is getting a lot of the miners that are for air cooled. So it doesn't really make sense there. I have 10% Iren from early 2023. I don't trust the stock to add more. If you look at the stock, it more or less acts as a pump and dump with unsustained prices each time it gains level. I mean, all of these guys are the same way, except for a couple, right? Here's something else I was going to show you guys. I forgot to show you guys this. Actually, I was going to do this tonight as well because we didn't do this last week or on Sunday. But here, check out this. So now you have on the share prices of the companies from 52-week lows and from 52-week highs, we can see here that Cleanspark, still obviously the top dog here, right? 421% from its 52-week lows. Iren, or Marathon's up 186%, but now Iren is up 180% from its 52-week lows, and it's above Bitcoin. So these three are now outperforming Bitcoin here in the last 52 weeks from the lows, right? Iren is only 19% from its high here, so it's pretty close to that. Cleanspark's only 28%, and then Marathon's 37%. So, right, you're seeing that they're starting to outperform Bitcoin here going forward, potentially. Okay. Also, I'm guessing you're trying to say don't trust Mike Alfred. I wouldn't say how can I put this politely? I respect Mike. He's obviously got a lot of experience. He knows a lot of people in the space as well. But he also obviously has his own agenda, just like everyone else does, right? So you always have to take anything anybody else says with a little bit of grain of salt. You have to also look into what are they in, what are they not in, things like that, to obviously get an understanding of what's going on there. So, like I said, I have a lot of respect for Mike Alfred. He has a lot of experience, a lot of insights, and things like that. And he's an exquisite talker. I mean, he could be obviously one of those people that run for president and talk everybody out of it. But that's just it. Let's see here. Sebastian, do you see a prolonged BTC cycle given ETF global adoption, companies holding on their balance sheet? If so, would the miners be longer term hold? That is a good question. That's something that I've been asking also on some of these spaces that I've been on, right? When we talk about as far as predictions as far as where Bitcoin possibly could go, cycles, right? Are we going to have another bear cycle? With the Bitcoin ETFs, the companies putting it on their balance sheets, everything else is kind of pointing, at least in my view, that we might have a prolonged cycle, kind of like what happened with gold, right? Gold went on for a multi-year rally in price, right? Could we see the same thing with the miners, with Bitcoin itself in general, with the ETFs, where it just goes on for a prolonged cycle, where we don't have these 80% drops anymore like we had in the past, where we only maybe have a 30% drop or 40 at most, right? Don't know. It's a different cycle. This cycle, we had the first ever all-time high before a halving event. That's never happened before, right? Which leads me to think, could this cycle be different all the way around? And it might be. And at that point, are the miners a good hold long-term? That is yet obviously to be seen. We don't know, right? If Bitcoin continues to go up higher, that means the network hash is going to continue to go up higher, meaning that they're going to have to also grow much higher. So it's an never-ending kind of wheel on those things, and they might actually go higher than what we think potentially, depending on where Bitcoin goes, right? But what if it's just a prolonged cycle where Bitcoin only goes up to 200,000 in the next 3 years, right? Instead of the next year and a half or a year, something like that, right? What does that mean for the miners as well? So that you have to also think about that as well. Does your HODL stats count both BTC and Ethereum HODL for BTBs? No, I only look at Bitcoin HODL right now. Thank you for your videos. You're very welcome. Let's see here. Do you feel like Iren will be the new Cleanspark by end of 2025? They should be a similar exahash joules per terahash, operating margins, uptime, BTC produced. Only things Cleanspark HODLs. Yeah, I do see a lot of similarities between those companies. And I was looking at Iren actually back in 2022, right when everything was going down. I was looking to possibly invest in them because I saw the same things that I was seeing in Cleanspark, where operations were good, hash rate growth was going good as well. The only thing that put a pause on that was obviously the SPVs that they had back then. They had to return a lot of the machines because they defaulted basically on those loans for those machines, right? So that's the only time where I thought, okay, let's put a pause on it. Let's see how they do going forward. And then later on this year, I saw that they were increasing their hash rate, growing. They were doing the right things. I'm like, okay, now I wanted to get back into them. And I did, or actually start a position into them back in November and December of last year of 2023. I heard mining difficulties is going up. Can we expect some downside pressure on miners next week? I'm looking for opportunities to buy. Potentially. But, they always increase over time anyways, especially as network hash rate continues to grow, which I expect to happen. I expect sometime by the end of this year, we're going to be probably at like 800, 900 exahash by the end of the year. Might be even north of that, right? We were way off in 2023 where everybody was thinking, oh, it's going to go up to 350 exahash, and we ended up being up to like 500 exahash by the end of the year. So we will see on that one. Will any price reach $5 this bull run? And they're in a tough spot also. Any's a smaller miner. They only have, 1.4 exahash right now. They don't have any infrastructure, so they're hosting with somebody. So they have a little bit higher cost there. They're also using the 100. I'd have to look. I think it's the 100 terahash miners in there. So they're getting close to their end of lifespan on those things, potentially. Depending where, the only thing I could say is Bitcoin price going much higher, right? And they don't have a lot of cash. They have some debt there as well. It's going to be tough. But Bitcoin rising up should help rise all boats at that point. So maybe any can go up as well. Do you see BTC hitting 15,500 specifically? Were you listening to that space? That one guy that was hosting it about it today. I listened in for like a couple minutes onto it. I don't see that happening. At least not anytime soon. I think this cycle, if we do get a bear cycle, I think we're going to probably end up around 48 to like 68,000 at the bottom at the very least, if we go down another 80% potentially, but not down to 15,000 unless we have a massive recession or something like that. Hi, Sebastian. Hi, Clint. Okay, here we go. A Bitfarm dumps again. Can Riot renew their offer? I would think so. I mean, there's no stopping it if it dips. They can continue to buy it if they want to also. Or do Riot have to stick to it by law? Or I remember Elon having to buy Twitter because he made an offer. Well, yeah, he made an offer for it, a formal offer, and then he wanted to get out of it, right? So maybe he slept on it and thought, maybe this isn't the best idea there. So yeah, they had to take him to court and say, you made the offer, you got to deal with it, right? This isn't an offer or intent to, well, I shouldn't say that because I don't know what the exact verbiage is or if they got the intent. This is just, I think, an expressed, how do we word that? That basically they're looking to possibly buy the company. But obviously they bought shares in the company, so it looks like it's a little bit more major than just, we're thinking about buying the company. Can you share your end-of-year price targets for BitDigital? Also, how do you rank them compared to Iren? And what's your opinion on the flywheel? Oh, for BitDigital, the flywheel? Yeah, how they're using the staking of Ethereum to then increase their mining in Bitcoin. I think it's a very nice graphic. And if it works out for them, that's great. Right, I'd rather see them grow more this year than anything else than try to do this with the flywheel. As far as price targets for BitDigital this year, you could, depending on Bitcoin goes up 2x, you could possibly get 4 or 5x out of BitDigital, right? At that point, I would think. But as far as how do I rank them compared to Iren, I think as far as operations growth and things like that, Cleanspark's my number 1. Iren's probably my number 2 now. Bitfarms number 3 because of the growth there, the operation side of things. BitDigital for me is down towards the bottom and on things like this, right? I'm looking for growth. Do you think Bitfarms' response to Riot was strong enough? And, do you also think Bitfarms are having issues in getting a new CEO? That I don't know, right? Depending who they're looking for, what they're requiring in that person, right? Do they have to be a multilingual, right? Maybe speak Spanish, English, and maybe who knows, French. They're also in, I think, Quebec. Excuse me. So maybe they're looking for somebody that's got expertise overseas as well, right? What are they actually looking for? We don't know on that side of things. But as far as what was the other part of the question, do I think the response was strong enough? I mean, it was basically like a boilerplate response for it, right? Here's why we disagree with it, so forth, so on, right? At least they came out with it, and they are going with, that they can do much better on their own going forward, where they think it'll be beneficial to shareholders, right, to stay on their own. So I like that part of it. But was it strong enough? Was it? No. I mean, you can't be really strong enough, but you obviously have to take your points into it as well. Do you see Bitfarms or Iren doing bigger returns from current levels? So it's interesting with Bitfarms. Bitfarms, we don't know if they're going to get bought out. If they get bought out, well, they're going to be at whatever that bought out price is at. So they're not going to be a contender there potentially. Iren, I do think they're going to have potentially bigger returns because they're still way undervalued from where they really should be. They haven't really caught up to like Cleanspark, Marathon, or Riot as far as valuation on hash rate and future hash rate, things like that. So I do think they're, same thing with Bitfarms. I think that would be the same case. If they are able to maintain their basically sovereignty, be on their own, I think that will have a lot of good returns going forward. What would be a better investment now if you have to choose Iren or CORZ Scientific or both? I still think Iren. I'm not a big fan of going into companies that just got a bankruptcy. Plus, you have the warrants there, right? All that other stuff that's kind of a headache. So for that reason, I would say Iren, right? If CORZ didn't have that baggage behind them, it would be a tougher question there. And as far as we'd have to see where would CORZ be growing there, right? Would CORZ be growing to 20x or 40x a hash potentially this year as well? Well, then that kind of makes things interesting, right? They also have a customer for AI, CoreWeave there, which they're obviously making pretty good money on it, supposedly. We'll have to see on the quarterly results. So they do have a lot of interesting things. They do have a lot of megawatts as well. Iren has more megawatts in the pipeline potentially. They got 3 gigawatts, where I think CORZ has only like possibly 1 gigawatt plus a little bit there. Not exactly sure. Hank, thanks Sebastian, great content as usual. Yeah, thanks for coming in here, buddy. Let's see. Comparing Iren to Cleanspark in terms of future hash rate growth, wouldn't it be more favorable for Iren to grow given it has secured land and power? They just need to place orders for miners. Yeah, but that's obviously, don't discount Cleanspark on this as well, because Cleanspark, this whole time, going from 100 petahash back in 2021, beginning of 2021, January, to now, what is that, 3.5 years later, they're at 17 exahash, I think. Whatever, then we'll see where they're going to be at the end of May. But they've done a fantastic job with basically sourcing these infrastructure plays, these buildings, and growing them out, and growing to where they are now, where they're basically the number 2 dog in the space, right? Their market cap is second to only to Marathon right now. And how did they do that? They got that by growing themselves organically that way, right? So it can be done. So you can't just kind of disqualify them because of that. Will Bitfarms going up tomorrow by a 3 Canadian? That I don't know. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Did Hive results come out today? I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen a press release or anything like that on Yahoo Finance or nothing. So I don't know. I don't think it came out. If Riot gets rejected from the board, what then? Or let's say that they get in, what then? Well, if they get on the board, right? So if they have somebody appointed to the board, depending on how many people are on the board, I don't know if you need a supermajority or a majority on every decision that's made there to go forward. So even if they get 1 or 2 people on there, I think the other board members will have a majority against them, maybe. I don't know. Well, I don't know how that's going to work out. What makes CORZ warrants a headache? I don't understand them. It's not really that they're a headache, right? It's just that you have to get to $6.80 some cents for the first tranche. At that point, they vest, and the company gets to pay off like 300 some million in debt, and gets like 300 million at that time as well in their cash. So that would obviously help them out. And then the next tranche is at $8 something. Those are penny warrants, I believe. So that's going to obviously be a dilution, I believe, on the shares at that point. It's a lot there to think about. Let's see. If Bitfarms, BTC trades sideways until August, which miners are in trouble, if any? No, none right now. Some of the smaller ones might be a little bit in trouble, especially as the hash price stays kind of flat around the $50 range right now, right? It's going to be a little harder. And then depending on where the network hash rate grows, that's obviously going to cause more trouble for some of the smaller miners than some of the bigger miners. So I don't expect anybody to be in real big trouble there. see, not that one, this one. If we hold Bitfarms shares and Bitfarm is bought by Riot or another, do we get our shares sold for a specific price? Yeah, we get, I believe it's going to get sold for a specific price, and then you also may get some shares in Riot, maybe? I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out. At the current level, which miners can 2x or 3x just from growth? Well, at that point, you're looking at Cleanspark, Riot, Marathon, Iren, Bitfarms. As far as really good growth here this year. Then you're looking into some of the other ones that are probably like Wolf, Cypher as well, BitDeer at that point, and then you go down the list from there. So what Ryan even trying to get on the board? What's the point here if they outnumbered? What's the point? Yeah, I don't know what the point is there. I think they're just trying to throw their weight around a little bit maybe there. Maybe they can sway some people. If people are pretty well-spoken, eloquent speakers, maybe they can sway some decisions in there. I don't know what the point is. I don't know how that works. Do you think Riot did this for attention? I don't think Riot did this for attention. Right? There's no benefit for doing it in intention. I think they wanted, obviously, to pick up a miner like Bitfarms with great operations and everything else, facilities across the world. And obviously you get possibly Ben Gagnon from that deal as well, which obviously is one of the best guys in the industry. So if you could do that at a really cheap price and bring it on quickly here before the bull run starts, that's very advantageous obviously to Riot and to Riot shareholders, right? Not so much for Bitfarms, but it is for Riot. And then if Riot holds on to the shares that they have right now, it's a double win for them, even if they don't buy the company out. But if they hold on to the shares and the stock in Bitfarms goes 5 to 10x, well, then they're making, a 350, 700 million potentially on that investment there, just alone in buying the shares. But that's if they hold it here. Question, hi Sebastian, I just got in. I missed your analysis on Bitfarms' response. Do you think their response was strong enough to reassure shareholders? Yeah, I think for that side of things, I think it was, right? They stated the case that they're still on track to get to 21 exahash. They believe that is the best path forward. They have also stated they have other offers potentially in there, right, that are under NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. So we'll see what comes out of it. They're obviously trying to, if they're going to do something, if they're going to sell, they're going to sell for the right price. Right now, being where the stock is at, I don't think it's the right price, and I think they feel the same way. So I do think so. Let's see here. If Seb was paid $1 every time somebody asks what each miner's price level is at any point over the next 12 months, he would be a millionaire by now. Yeah, but I don't mind it. Some people come in late and things like that, so I understand that. So I don't mind it at all. But all right, I think I caught up with all you guys' questions here. We are in 1 hour into the stream. I think we'll call it a day here. Let's see. Okay, we got a couple more questions. I'll get to a couple more and then we'll be done. Which miner will be the next on your shopping list? I think that is it for right now, at least from what I see, unless we start seeing major improvements in Riot's performance and maybe Marathon's performance as well, right? Those two I have always thought highly of, but didn't think highly of their operations. Marathon obviously has high market power as far as name recognition, right? When you just search up on Google Bitcoin miners, what's the first thing that pops up? Marathon, right? So they're going to do great based on that. And then Riot also is right up there. So based on name recognition alone, those two are like the top ones, and they do have huge growth plans going forward as well. So if they could just fix their operations side of things, maybe those are the ones I would possibly look into getting after that. CORZ is also one that I may look into here in the coming weeks, months maybe, right? I want to get maybe at least another Q2 results from them just to see how they're doing after the halving event, right? How are they actually doing after the halving event at that point? So we'll see. Do you think Riot would do a 1-for-1? 1-for-1. You mean like one share of Riot and one share of, I think that's what you mean. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if they would do that. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. CORZ or Iren. I would say Iren right now. CORZ obviously is in the back of my mind as well. MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy has at times outperformed Bitcoin by a larger multiple, you could say, but sometimes it also pulls back, right? Sometimes it gets a little overheated and kind of overshoots Bitcoin a little bit. Typically, it's like a 2 to 2.5x on Bitcoin typically. Sometimes it overshoots to like 3, 4 sometimes, and then pulls back down. So for that reason, I think with the miners, I can do maybe a better multiple. Not always, right? But especially in the bull runs, I think the miners will do better. Why did Wolf move today? Not sure. Maybe some people are thinking there might be another candidate for a buyout potentially. Especially checking the 250-day EMA on the daily. Only the 3 miners above Cleanspark, Iren, and CORZ, both Bitfarms and Wild, maybe Riot, are getting close to moving above the EMAs. Just an FYI. Cool. That's good to know. Thank you. Is Bitcoin up or down, or what is the price? Bitcoin long run goes up. That's it. All right. We'll call it a day, guys. Thank you so much for coming in to watch this. If Hive, by some chance, provides us with some Q1 results, maybe tonight or tomorrow, we'll obviously go over that, see how they did compared to the other miners as well, and then we'll see whatever else happens. Tomorrow's what? Tomorrow's the 30th. So we're getting close to the end of May. At the end of May, obviously, it's going to bring us results for the May production updates as well. Those will be out next week, so it should be a fun week heading into that. Big things I'm looking for, obviously, is Riot. How have they grown in Corsicana facility? Big thing, obviously, Bitfarms. How did they grow in May? Building out in Paraguay and things like that. Next one will be, obviously, Cleanspark. They're at 17. They need to get to 20 exahash by the end of June. How close are they to that? What's going on there? And then also what's going on with the facility in Wyoming. Want to know more about that. So there's a lot of things that I still want to know about. But we'll cover it all when it does happen, okay? So thank you everyone for coming in. It was a little bit definitely earlier show today. Definitely would like to do these more often instead of doing the ones at night at 9, 10 o'clock sometimes. But sometimes life gets the best of me with kids and family and everything else. Okay, but that's it. Appreciate you all. Have a great night. I'll see you guys in the next one.